Is it on? Is it on or is it not on? Okay, Bismillah. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. The next hadith in which we will take in Buloogh ul-Maraam is the hadith on Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu ardah, where the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned himself, من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به والجهل فليس لله حاجة في أن يضع طعامه وشرابه رواه البخاري أبو داود لفظ له. The next hadith is on the authority of Abu Hurairah, where the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned and said, whoever does not leave off قول الزور. This is the next hadith in Buloogh ul-Maraam. If everyone turn to their page, and you'll find the next hadith in Buloogh ul-Maraam right after we finish the hadith pertaining to what everyone, the prohibition of al-wisal. And we said al-wisal, what is the qawl al-rajih, or the strongest opinion that is impermissible, due to that which one will miss out on the virtue of a suhoor. And from the reasons why al-wisal was impermissible, because one will reach the time of a suhoor and he will consecutively fast without cutting it. And we said that al-wisal is impermissible due to that. And those who say that, or from the ulama who say that's impermissible, they say that is one of the reasons why it is impermissible to practice that which is called al-wisal, even though the Prophet ﷺ himself did it. But the Prophet ﷺ, as we said, had said in the hadith, he says, وَأَيُّكُمْ مِثْلِي, and which one of you is similar to me? As we know, he, alayhi salatu wassalam, was given certain khasa'is, certain characteristics that the rest of the ummah weren't given, meaning from the men. And from them is, alayhi salatu wassalam, that which Allah ta'ala had given him, as it says in a hadith, فَإِنَّمَا يُطْعِمُنِي رَبِّي وَيَسْقِينِي, that my Lord feeds me and He gives me drink. And we said that what the ulama mentioned in the meaning of the love of that hadith, or the wording, is that the Prophet ﷺ, he took enjoyment and pleasure in that worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until he was totally independent or free of their food and drink for those consecutive amount of days where he fasted. Whereas he prohibited the ummah not to do so. So that we saw, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, wa ya ma'ash al-mustami'in wal-mustami'at, we said that it is impermissible to practice what they call al-wisal. Even though there's a hadith in al-Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, said, he says, وَإِنْ كَانَ لَا بُدْ فَلْيُوَاصِلْ إِلَىٰ وَقْتِ السَّحَرِ. That the Prophet ﷺ said in the narration, he said, لَا تُوَاصِلُوا فَأَيُّكُمْ أَرَادَ يُوَاصِلْ فَلْيُوَاصِلَ السَّحَرِ. He said, if you want to practice wisal, even though it's impermissible, and that one shouldn't do it, it's impermissible, and one should not do it. And it's preferable, likewise, that one should not do this at all. But then there's another narration that removes the original hukum, which is called a sadif. And we know that Arabic language is called a sadif. The sadif is another narration or another text from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, removing it from its original hukum to giving either an exception or given a restriction or an exception in a general matter. So in this general matter, the Prophet ﷺ says impermissible. But there's one exception, and that is, he says, if one of you wants to wasil, well, first it says in the narration, la tuwasilu, don't practice wisal. So that's the asl, that's the origin of the hukum. But he said, if one of you was to practice wisal and he wants to do it, then let him do it only to the following day of a sahar, only to the following day where he eats suhoor in the morning. So, if one is to break his fast when Maghrib, the time for Maghrib comes in, and he broke his fast that same evening. If he wanted to practice wisal, he would practice up to the following day when Fajr comes, or the time before Fajr comes in, and that same evening, that same night, then he will have to break it by eating suhoor. And that is, like we said, what is permissible. From that which is the affair, what they call al-wisal, where the Prophet ﷺ prohibited, that matter as we discussed last week. As we move on to the next hadith, of the authority of Abu Hurairah, where the Prophet ﷺ said, who does not leave off statements of evil, and also likewise putting it to practice, or doing actions by that evil. And also likewise ignorance, and we will talk about al-jahl does not mean, jahl meaning adam al-ilm. That ignorance here does not mean not having knowledge. That does not mean that. As we'll talk about inshaAllah, for verily Allah is not in need of one leaving off his food and drink. And that hadith is in al-Bukhari and Muslim. And also in Abu Dawood. Excuse me. It's in al-Bukhari and Abu Dawood. And the wording is for Abu Dawood. For this matter of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he's bringing attention to what a lot of people are heedless of in the month of Ramadan. As we talked about in the khutbah Friday, a lot of people think that fasting is restricted to only leaving off food or abstaining from food and drink. And what is the meaning of food and drink? Meaning those needles that give nutrients to the body. And also likewise, one being intimate with his spouse, they think that is just restricted to those affairs. And that's not the case. As fasting in the meaning of attaining the taqwa, as Allah Ta'ala says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, in order that you may attain taqwa, or maybe perhaps you attain taqwa, from the meaning of that is this meaning of this hadith here. Whoever does not leave off statements and actions, and also likewise, statements of evil, and also likewise actions by that evil that he's doing, and also jahl, that Allah Ta'ala is not in need of him leaving off his food and drink. As we know, that which is that which breaks the fast, ya ma'ashal ikhwah, what breaks the fast breaks down into two categories, as we know. The first category is what they call mufattirat al-hissiyah. Those mufattirat which are attainable where one can see, where it's tangible, meaning it's in front of him, such as food and drink, and that which is the meaning of food and drink, of those needles, or those suppositories, or those needles that give nutrients to the body. And likewise, a jima', or one being intimate with his spouse. That nullifies one's fast. What they call al-mufattirat al-hissiyah. Those things, or those affairs that break one's fast, and it's tangible. Meaning you see it. It's there, and you can feel it, touch it, and that which is yudrak bi al-hawas al-khams. That which is reached or attainable by the five senses. Then you have that which is what they call ya ma'ish al-ikhwa wal-akhawat, that which is al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyah. That which breaks one's fast, but it's not tangible, even though it's there. But it cannot be reached or fathomed by the five senses. Not by al-hawas al-khams. Al-hawas al-khams. Scratch. That which is not tangible or fathomed by the al-hawas al-khams, by the five senses, but it's there. This hadith is talking about the second category of that which breaks the fast, but not necessarily of the aspect of what they call raising the affair of al-ijza. ولكن ينقص الأجر إلى درجة كأن الصائم لم يصم أصلا. Not saying that it removes the fast as far as the repayment of removing the obligation, but however decreasing the reward of the one who's fasting as if he didn't fast at all. And that's what the hadith is talking about here, which is the second category, what they call al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyyah, which is, for example, statements of evil, and also likewise actions of evil, and also likewise al-jahl. And we're going to speak about that, inshallah bi'idhnillah, in a couple of minutes. فَيَدَعْ قَوْلُ الزُّورِ, who does not leave off statements of evil. قَوْلُ الزُّورِ is everything that opposes the truth. كُلُّ قَوْلٍ مَائِلٍ عَنِ الْحَقِّ. There's a قَوْلُ الزُّورِ, a statement of evil, is everything that goes away from the truth. As do we know, az-zur is derivative of the verb in the Arabic language, al-izwirar, which means al-inhiraf, meaning to deviate or go away from something, or to move away from something. For shatim, as we know, one ridiculing while he's fasting is considered qawl az-zur. One insulting someone is called qawl az-zur. Backbiting is also qawl az-zur. Also accusing one of something that he's not, or accusing one of a matter or something in which he's free from is also considered qawl az-zur. Lying is also qawl az-zur. Anything that goes away from the truth, from statements, then it coincides the meaning of the hadith here where the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever does not leave off qawl az-zur. And also likewise shahadat az-zur, the testification or false testification, also likewise coincides with the meaning of the hadith, as that coincides with it min babin awla, for all the more reason. So every statement anything of that which goes away with the truth, of hollering and screaming and insulting and mocking someone and calling one names or ridiculing them, all this coincides with the meaning of qawl az-zur, the meaning of that which is a statement of evil. And it does not necessitate that it's a false statement, but it coincides as a meaning. All of this is comprises, and all this consists of the meaning of qawl az-zur. So when one is fasting, he has to stay away from all those affairs. And it's not just food, drink, and it's not only, like we said, that which is the meaning of it, of those suppositories or those needles, and also likewise refraining from one being intimate with his wife, or vice versa, or the wife being intimate with the husband. But however, these is matters you will find that a lot of the Muslims, they fall into, and they're not realizing that they're depriving themselves of the reward of Allah Ta'ala to the point where it's as if they didn't fast at all. So, qawl az-zur is the statements of evil. Then you have that which is actions of evil. And actions of evil, likewise in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, also likewise the explanation of that, al-amru bi kulli qawlin muharram, any action that is impermissible, also likewise falls under this category. For example, cheating someone in al-bay' wa shira, in those business transactions, that which is selling and trading and business. Also likewise, looking at something impermissible. Looking at something impermissible while one is fasting. And also listening to music and anything similar to that. And also to also witness something or anything that is impermissible. All this is considered actions of az-zur. So it's incumbent upon one while he's fasting is to stay away from what? Stay away from that which is statements of evil and actions of evil. Just to sum up everything and make it simple. The Prophet ﷺ said in the next part of the hadith, and jahl. Jahl. For one might think that which the meaning of al-jahl is adam al-ilm. As we know, jahl breaks down into two types in the Arabic language, which is adam al-ilm wa adam al-hilm. which is عدم العلم and عدم الحلم. عدم العلم, not to have knowledge, and عدم الحلم, and also not to be forbearing. Not to be forbearing. So the meaning of al-jahl here is the second meaning of al-jahl, which is not to be forbearing. When we say forbearing, meaning that one is not calm and at ease while he's fasting, while he's quick to holler at someone, scream at them, lose his moral character, or lose his integrity, or lose those morals that he's supposed to comply with and to maintain while he's in a state of fasting. So al-jahl, like we said here, is adam al-hilm, that a person is not forbearing, where he loses and has that obscene behavior, screaming and hollering, ridiculing or mocking. All of that is al-jahl. Was-safa. Any type of statements of foolishness, that which is the meaning of al-jahl here in this context. So the Prophet ﷺ gathered between all those three affairs. Whoever does not leave off qawl al-zur wal-amal bihi wal-jahl, for Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, it says in the narration, laysa lillahi haja. It says that Allah tabarak wa ta'ala is not in need. You'll find that the meaning of the hadith, as we'll talk about inshaAllah, the meaning of the hadith saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want this fast. And that's the meaning of the hadith. Because Allah wa ta'ala, the asl that we believe that goes to our aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah is that Allah wa ta'ala is ghani ghina'in dhatiyan. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is self-sufficient and independent in what they say, ghina'in dhatiyan. The characteristic of ghina, absolute independency and self-sufficiency, is a characteristic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's essence that never leaves him. For Allah wa ta'ala has the characteristic of ghina, in the self-sufficiency and absolute independence of anything. Does not need anything tabaraka wa ta'ala. And that's a characteristic of his essence that never leaves him. Tarfata aynin, a blink of an eye. There's never a time from the times there are where this characteristic leaves him tabaraka wa ta'ala. He is always self-sufficient, always independent of everything and anything. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. So if that's the case, what is the meaning of the hadith? فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ. For Allah is not in need of one leaving off his food and drink. Like we said, the meaning of the hadith is لَيْسَ لِلَّهِ إِرَادَةٌ مَا أَرَادَ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ هَذَا الصَّوْمِ وَهَذَا النَّوْعِ مِنَ الصِّيَامِ. That Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, meaning he does not want from his slave this type of fasting. This type of fast where he's insulting someone, and he's not being forbearing, and he's not being settled, and in a manner where he's tranquil and serene. That he does not want this type of fast from his slave, where he's ridiculing and mocking and doing these actions of which is mentioned in the hadith. That Allah Ta'ala wants him to abstain from those matters, of eating, drinking, and also being intimate, and likewise to stay away from these three affairs which are mentioned in the hadith, which is from the second category that we just said a couple of minutes ago, which is called al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyyah. Those mufattirat, like we said, they break the fast as if they break the fast. Because you'll find, like we said, and there's narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, as we know, every year we hear these narrations. He said, وَرُبَّ صَائِمًا لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعِ وَرُبَّ قَائِمًا لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا السَّهْرِ. Excuse me, everyone. Now, so, like we said, for the meaning of the hadith is, or that which, the second category of breaking one's fast, we said it doesn't necessarily break the fast as far as ijza', as far as raising or removing the obligation. But as far as the aspect of what they call the reward, the ajr, has been removed to the point where it's as if you didn't fast. Because Allah Ta'ala mentions in the last part that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And this is the hikmah of a siyam, is for one to attain what we said, at-taqwa. And from that is to have that good, upright moral behavior, or upright character, that best character. And that is part of the meaning of attaining at-taqwa. And you will find that a person that he leaves off the month of Ramadan, he's not acclimated towards leaving off these affairs. What did he benefit from Ramadan? ولكن نحن نشاهد كثيرا من المسلمين أكثرهم يدخلوا رمضان يخرج لا يتأثرون به. There's a statement Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions it says, rahimahullah rahmatu wasi'ah. This is what he says. He says, hence you'll find that Ramadan is 30 days. وإلا وقد تكيف بهذه العادات الفاضلة. And he's been acclimated now to these different virtues, aspects of worship, which are virtuous. He says, and from them is leaving off these matters, which is statements of evil, actions of evil, and also leaving off their foolishness. However, we'll find a lot of Muslims that they leave in the month, or they come in the month of Ramadan, come out, and they're not affected, or they didn't get no type of influence of leaving off those matters. He did not maintain those matters of which Allah Ta'ala, His Messenger, had said to adhere to, which is that taqwa. And from them is to leave off all three of these matters that are mentioned in the hadith. So now we get to the bahth, in which a lot of people think that if one is to lie, khalas, that means that I broke my fast, that I can eat and drink for the rest of the day. No. Now we're going to break down what we was talking about as far as ijza'. As far as ijza' of repayment. Does the hadith, or does the siyam of the one who backbites or fall into these matters that we said is prohibited, does it totally nullify the fasting? And we said that it, not as far as the aspect of ijza'. So I'm going to now give a little bit more clarification. يستفاد من الحديث أن لهذه الأشياء ثلاثة أثرا بالغا في الصوم لقوله. What is benefit of the hadith, that these three affairs, they have a tremendous effect upon one's fasting, which the Prophet ﷺ prohibited. The majority of Ahl Ilm are upon that the one who falls into these matters of evil, which is prohibited, it does not nullify the fasting, meaning of insulting an individual, or ridiculing or mocking of someone. He said it does not necessarily nullify it totally, due to the fact that, and there's a qa'idah by Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, rahimahullah, which is a tremendous principle that he brings, which is a major benefit. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali. He said that which is prohibited generally, but it's emphasized at a specific time where it becomes at a virtuous time, where if one was to do it, that the tahrim or the impermissibility of it now is even more higher and emphasized. He said that does not necessitate the nullification of one's fasting, in contrast to those things which are halal outside the month of Ramadan, but in the month of Ramadan during the day they're impermissible. Then those things are the matters that nullifies one's fast. I'll explain it. So we said that backbite or ghib or namima, to the end of it, does not break one's fast. We said that it's general because it's not permissible to do those affairs, what everyone, in the month of Ramadan and outside the month of Ramadan. It's not permissible to do any of those matters, in the month or outside the month. But however, in the month is what even more emphasized. يزداد تحريمها لحرمة هذا الوقت ولشرفه. It's even more emphasized due to the sanctuary of this time, how sanctified it is. So the aspect of that matter, which is impermissible all year round, becomes even more highly unlawful while one is in the state of fasting. So this matter, which is called, we just explained it right now, as far as from the ajr of the reward, it's removed. But as far as the ijza', the repayment of where it raises the obligation, then no. That's only for matters which are permissible outside the month of Ramadan during our day, but in the month of Ramadan during the day, of course without a due excuse from the Shara', then it's what, everyone? Then those affairs are impermissible and they will nullify your fasting. For example, one is intimate with his spouse, his wife of course, not with his girlfriend, but his wife. That's permissible. And also on top of that, you'll be rewarded for being intimate with your wife. And the person will say, what are you talking about? Due to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَفِي بُضْعِ أَحَدِكُمْ صَدَقَةً. The Prophet ﷺ said, the fact that you're intimate with your wife, then you will have a reward for it. That's outside the month of Ramadan. In the month of Ramadan during the day, what does it become now? Unlawful to do that. So if one is to fall and be intimate with his spouse during the day of Ramadan, what does it do to his fast? Nullifies it. And also likewise, it does not fulfill the obligation, the ijza', that which is the affair, what they call the repayment of that fasting, where the obligation with Allah has been fulfilled, that now has been nullified and removed. In contrast to that which is the other matter, which is what? One falling into that which is impermissible all year round. Then as far as the aspect of ijza', one, it can repay for the obligation, but the reward for it is what? Been removed. For example, another example we could give. The Prophet ﷺ had talked about going to a magician, just going to a magician, or drinking intoxicants. That one's salat will not be what? His salat will not be accepted for that which is 40 nights, as it says in the narration. The one that goes to a magician or a palm reader, a soothsayer, a fortune teller, he gets his palm read. Then the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that he will not what? Then his salat will not be accepted for 40 nights. Also likewise, the one who drinks intoxicants. If he drinks intoxicants, the Prophet ﷺ said what? That his salat will not be accepted for 40 nights. طيب. Does that now necessitate that one leaves off the salah for 40 days or 40 nights? No, it doesn't. Rather, here, there's a difference between that which is what they call ijza' and that which is called qabul. There's a difference between that which is what they call sihha al-ibadah, where it fulfills the obligation, but the acceptance of it, of that matter, meaning the acceptance of that particular action. And when we say acceptance, that meaning that Allah Ta'ala gave a reward for it. So the person, when he falls into these matters of that which is of drinking, then he still has to perform what? His salah. So the obligation has been fulfilled, but however, the reward of it, where Allah accepts the action, whereas if he accepts it, he gives a reward for it, he's deprived of that matter. It's important for a person to know that, because if he reads those nusus, he'll fall into ignorance and say, okay, well, my salah, I fell into drinking last night, so that means what? I'm going to leave out the salah for 40 nights. La, that's not the meaning of it. The meaning is you still have to perform the salah for the aspect of ijza', of fulfilling the obligation, but you're deprived of the reward of it. It's because of that which is of the aspects of worship, breaks down, like we said, into two types. You have that which is what they call the ijza' of the action, meaning the fulfillment of the obligation. Then you have the second, which is the reward or the acceptance of the action, meaning Allah gives you reward for it. So those are the two matters of which all of us set out in order to actualize. We want Allah to what? We want the obligation fulfilled and we want the reward for it, both. You have certain matters that if you fall into it, that it removes either one of the two or both of them. From those matters that breaks and nullifies both of them, we get into the month of Ramadan. So now let's take what we just said and apply it to the month of Ramadan. For a person now that thinks reads this hadith, he'll fall into that which is a ghiba and namima during the day of the month of Ramadan. So he thinks in his mind, out of ignorance, subhanAllah, I lied. Let me go break my fast. Let me go eat and drink. That's not the meaning of the hadith. You understand, everyone? A person would continue his fast, even though he's been deprived of the reward and Allah knows best. However, the ijza, the obligations, still can be fulfilled, even though he might have lost out on the what? The reward. So that's what we're talking about here. So that's what we're speaking about here in this hadith, in this narration of the Prophet ﷺ. So a person that falls, for example, he goes outside, he might have ridiculed someone, he might have hit someone while he was fasting. Where we said is binding upon one to abstain from all these matters while he's fasting, not to ridicule or not to hit or punch or intentionally hurt an individual. Like we said, while he's fasting, he's serene and tranquil. So if he falls into that, he'll say, subhanAllah, the hadith says now, let me go, khalas, my fasting is done. I might as well just, for the rest of my day, eat and drink. And we say no, because the eating and drinking fulfills the obligation, abstaining from eating and food and drink fulfills the obligation. Even though one might be deprived of reward of the fast if he falls into those affairs, but still you have to fulfill that obligation. So that's what we mean in the hadith. Al-Imam Ahmad said in the narration, it says, وَقَدْ ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ عن بعض السلف أن الغيبة تفطر لو كانت الغيبة تفطر لم يبقى لنا صوم. There's a narration of Imam Ahmad. Well, that which is al-furu', he says, it's been mentioned upon some of the salaf that ghiba breaks one's fast. He said, لو كانت الغيبة تفطر لم يبقى لنا صيام. If ghiba was to break one's fast, he said, then we will not have what? None of us will have any siyam left. وهذا صحيح. لو قلنا إن الإنسان إذا اغتاب رجلا فهو كما لو أكل تمرة. He said, for example, if there was a person that might have backbited someone, do we say that it's like as if he ate a date and swallowed it? He said, no one will have any of siyam, any of fasting left, except that which is in a rare case. He said, لأن كثير من الناس اليوم نسأل الله لنا ولكم الهداية والعافية. Because a lot of people, majority of people in these days, like we said, and that was the Imam Ahmad saying these days at times. He said a lot of them don't even care, give a hoot about ghibat an-nas, backbiting people. Nobody even cares. Usually in these days at times, people just freely talk about people. يعني القاعدة عند عامة الفقهاء أن التحريم إذا كان عاما فإنه لا يبطل العبادة بخلاف الخاص المحرم لخصوص العبادة يبطلها. We're not talking about that which is backbiting, but it's not backbiting actuality, it's nasiha. We're giving advice for the ummah of warning against people who are truly evil. No, we're talking about just backbiting the common folk from the Muslims, from Ahlul Sunnah, or from the people, just on a daily basis. A lot of people don't abstain from it, just talk freely. Just quick, and you'll find that there's a lot of ghiba in the mimah, a lot of ghiba that takes place in a lot of sittings. He said, أَنَّ التَّحْرِيمِ إِذَا كَانَ عَامًا فَإِنَّهُ لَا يُبْطِلُ الْعِبَادَةِ. And that's what Ibn Rajab is explaining here of the statement of Imam Ahmad. He said that an impermissibility of that which is general all throughout the year does not nullify the worship. In contrast to that which has been specifically in a specific time rendered impermissible for that specific time only, but outside the month of that Ramadan or outside of that time is halal, then it does not that it does nullify one's fast and it removes the obligation. And that's what Ibn Rajab had mentioned. We just explained the meaning of that qa'idah, which is a very beneficial qa'idah for one to know how to differentiate between what nullifies his fast and what removes the reward, or the acceptance of the action what removes the reward of the fasting. The next hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the next hadith is on the authority of Aisha. But the Prophet ﷺ said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقبل الصائم يقبل وهو صائم ويباشر وهو صائم ولكنه أملككم لإربه واللفظ لمسلم وزاد في رواية في رمضان. But the authority of Aisha رضي الله عنها المؤمنين, the Prophet ﷺ said that he used to kiss his wife, or he used to kiss her while she was fasting, and he will also caress her while he was fasting. However, He is the most controlling from amongst everyone of his desires, alayhi salatu wasalam, and his irbi. And irbi, is meaning of it, is desires and also that which is done with the private part. He, alayhi salatu wasalam, was the most controlling of that. Love the Muslim. وفي رواية في رمضان. Excuse me for 1 second, everyone. تفضل. No. From the adab of siyam, or that which is lawful, that which is lawful from the siyam, and that which is unlawful, Rasulullah al-Halw al-Minnah, what has been clarified in our religion is everything. And that is from the beauty of our religion, that we find there's in-depth detail in our matters, even in the aspects of worship, of what we can do, what we can't, while we're doing that worship. And which you'll find that from the Yahud and the Nasara, from the Jews and the Christians who have been deprived of these details. Notice we have everything. What a person does while he's in a state of forgetfulness and he forgets to eat, or while he's in a state of fasting, that forgetfulness will overcome him and he'll eat and drink while he's still fasting, but he forgot he was fasting. We have details for that. We have details in what is the differentiation between that which is what they call, as we'll talk about in this narration, madhi and mani. That which is the what they call, for lack of better words, the discharge that emanates from a man before the actual semen comes out. If that comes out, what does he do? Does he continue his fast? Does he break his fast? To the end of it. We've been given details in that matter. There's a narrations and there's explanations from our ulama in regards to those matters. These are affairs to increase our iman, to let us know whereupon is the truth. Because no one from the rest of the adyan, the religions there are, have these details in this depth, or in this type of matter, or this magnitude, this level, like how we have it here. To the point we have everything explained to us and laid down, but it's coming upon one to study and to put forth an effort and to be diligent and hard working and to attain the ilm, so he won't be in a state of ignorance, because Allah Ta'ala loves a person who has ilm, and He detests Ta'ala the person to be jahil. For that which is a sifa, hamida, or characteristic that's praiseworthy, is a person to have ilm. Because Allah Ta'ala is alim, wa yuhibbul ulama. He is all knowledgeable, and Allah Ta'ala loves the ulama, because they are the ones who truly fear Him Ta'ala. Because their worship is based upon knowledge, and built upon knowledge, and it's not built upon ignorance. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like for His slaves to worship Him upon jahl, to worship Him upon ignorance. He does not want His slaves to worship Him upon ignorance, like you'll find of that which is from the people of the book, that do not know their own book, but they just worship Allah, and they don't care to know whether or not it's correct or not. I just believe in it. But it's incorrect, and they still don't care. And that's the reason why Allah Ta'ala described them as being wal-dhalin, why they're astray, based upon those type of statements that we hear day and night them saying all the time. For that we say, ya ma'ashal ikhwah, those details that increase our iman, is this hadith here. That the Prophet ﷺ, what he used to do in the house with his wife or with his family. And these are matters in which we have in detail. Because that's our religion. Our religion is a religion of detail, and it's not a religion of generalities. Our religion is a religion of tafsil, of that which is given details. To make things clear, and from those matters is this. The Prophet ﷺ, while he was fasting, he used to kiss his wife. He used to kiss his wife. And not only that, it says in the narration, he says also he would also carry out what is called mubashara. Mubashara is even more in depth than just merely kissing. He would caress her too. He would caress her while he was fasting. But Aisha gave the clarification at the end. He said, however, he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the most controlling of his desires and his private part, alayhi salatu wasalam. He was the most controlling of the people. It says in the narration, irbihi, comes from the word arab. For that which is in the narration, irb or arab, or arib, not arab. Arab means haja. If you know people that say ma'rab or ma'aribihi, that means haja. If a person says Arab in the Arabic language means haja. Means haja. Means a need. If you put a kasra under it and say irb, that means a private part, or that which is an organ or a part of the body. And when we say organ that's part of the body, al-irb is udw nikah, in which one is intimate by that private part, which is the what? As we know, that which is between the legs. All of it is a derivative, and you'll find that it goes to the same meaning. Why? He said, وَهُوَ يَمْلِكْ حَاجَتَهُ وَهِيَ الْجِمَاعِ. So we know that arab means need, and irb is the private part. But they are related. How? Meaning the Prophet ﷺ used to control his need, which is what? To be intimate in this particular matter. So we gather between both meanings, which is arab and irb. The Prophet ﷺ, as we know, was given the strength of how many men? 30. He was given the strength of 30 men, alayhi salatu wasalam. And he would leave off. He was the most controlling of his need for being intimate with his wife while he was in a state of fasting. وَزَادَ فِي رِوَايَةٍ فِي رَمَضَانٍ. There's another narration that says, وَزَادَ فِي رِوَايَةٍ فِي رَمَضَانٍ. In the narration that says, in the month of Ramadan, while he was fasting. All of this is general for all the different type of fasts there are, whether it be a voluntary fast or an obligatory fast. This hukum that we're going to mention, this ruling, is regards to all those different type of fasts. So what? Whether it be, or it doesn't matter whether it's what? That which is voluntary or supererogatory fast, or a fasting of kafara, or that which is a fast of expiation, or that which is a fast siyam an-nadhr, or that which is taking a vow to fast. Doesn't matter. All those type of fasting, the hukum is general in this hadith for all those matters, or all those different type of fasts. What is permissible in that state, or whilst one is in that state of what? Fasting. So Aisha is informed of a matter in which a lot of people did not know, except that which takes place amongst his family, alayhi salatu wasalam. And we had to know these affairs in order for the ummah to know what is permissible for them to do while they're in a state of fasting for what pleases Allah and what does not please Him tabaraka wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ had these families in order for us to clarify how to conduct ourselves with our families and what to do in detail. So Aisha had conveyed these matters of what took place. So we know that the Prophet ﷺ used to what? Kiss his wife while she was in the state, while kiss his family, and kiss Aisha while he was fasting. Just as we know that the Prophet ﷺ had also taught us and taught the ummah what is permissible while a woman is mincing. And we have those details. The Prophet ﷺ had also now, in another narration as we know, He says, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأمرني بإزارة فأتزر وهو يباشرني. To the end of the narration. Just as we know the details of what is permissible for us to do while a woman is on her mens. And like we said, all these matters increases us in our iman. It tells us exactly in detailed instructions of what is permissible in the state of, in these different circumstances that comes up, because the ummah needs this ilm so they can know what pleases Allah and what does not please Allah, and what is in the boundaries of what we can do without exceeding the limits and exceeding the boundaries and transgressing them. So that narration that says that the Prophet ﷺ, while Aisha likewise was on her mens, what did the Prophet ﷺ used to do? He used to command her to put that izar around her, and he will fondle with her and kiss her. As long as as the Prophet ﷺ had clarified that one is not having the actual sex itself, then now all that is beyond that is permissible. So we have those details. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ وَالْمِنَّةُ وَلَكِنَّهُ كَانَ أَمْلَكَكُمْ لِإِرْبِهِ. The Prophet ﷺ was the most controlling of all of us, of his desires and his private part, alayhi salatu wasalam. Meaning, the meaning of the hadith of Aisha, that he, alayhi salatu wasalam, that he did not used to have semen, he would caress her to the point where semen will start to come out. He would caress his wife while he was in a state of fasting, to the point where he, alayhi salatu wasalam, would not have that semen emanate from him, because we know that semen, once it comes out from the private part, it nullifies the what? The fast. Except if one does not cause it. For example, he has a wet dream. We have those details for our religion. If one is in a wet dream and he's fasting and he sleeps and he wakes up, and we have those details. Is his fast valid or not? If we said that the fasting is what? Valid. Because he did not cause what? He did not cause for the semen to come out, meaning that he has stirred up or aroused his desire, where it now caused him to fall or that which is of the semen to now emanate or come out from his private part. Or, for example, in another narration you'll find, or another statement that Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned, it says, for example, a person is sitting, and he's a youth, and he's real young, and we know that the peak of one's desires is while he's young. And he might have just thought for a split second, and semen came out. Is his fast nullified? He said no. He did not cause it, but it was just a quick little thought. But some people are so, their desires are so strong, that's all it takes is a split thought. He said a split little thought, or come to his mind, khalas, done. The semen came out. Did we say here his fast is nullified? He said no. He said if the person now continues for a long time contemplating, and then he starts to rub himself and stir up his desires, then here in this instance, then what? It breaks his fast. Because he did not actualize the narration with the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that Allah Ta'ala says, يَدْعُ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ وَشَهْوَتَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِي. He does not leave off his food and his drink, his desires, because of me. In that hadith of Qudsi. But the Prophet Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says that إِذَا كَانَ صَوْمُ يَوْمِ أَحْدِكُمْ فَلَا يَرْفُضْ وَلَا يَسْخَبْ وَنْسَابَهُ أَحْمَدٌ أَوْ قَاتِلٌ فَيَقُولْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ وَلَا خُلُوفَ فَمِ الصَّائِمِ أَطْلُبُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَرِيحِ الْمِسْكِ وَلِلصَّائِمِ فَرْحَتَانِ. To the end of the narration where the Prophet ﷺ said in that same narration that he says يَدْعُ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ وَشَهْوَتَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِي, that he leaves off his food and his drink and his desires because of me. And if a person stirs up and arouses desires by either his hand or that which is of his desires, or using his hand of that which is impermissible during the month of Ramadan, which is masturbation and all of that, he is what? He has aroused his desires to the point where he has nullified his fast. However, if one is to kiss his wife, and that's the details we're giving in this narration. This narration here is to show if a person, and you'll find that the ulama mention this in the explanation. If he's a shab, he's a youth. And we know when a person is in a state of his prime or in his youth, his desires is at its highest peak. And he knows that if he touches his wife, that more than likely that sperm is going to come out. Then he should stay away from kissing his wife or fondling or caressing with her or playing with her. He should stay away from her. Why? Because it says in the narration, he was the most controlling of you of his desires. For a person that's a young youth, from us, especially in these days and times where everything, the majority of what is here in the West arouses everyone's desires. You can look outside to a poster. They're using a naked woman to advertise a car. And that we live in this country that calls to arousing people's desires. And here, if a person is in this state in his youth, and we're constantly being subjected in this type of environment, as he should stay away from that which is of his wife and his spouse, and abstain from that. And if he thinks that more than likely that semen is going to come out and that the desire is going to lead him to falling into being intimate with his spouse. If he thinks he's going to fall into jima', being intimate, then he abstains from kissing her, or caressing her, or fondling her to the end of it. But however, if he knows that he's a person, and everyone knows nobody is more knowledgeable about himself than Allah, firstly, than himself. For secondly, a person knows about himself and what he's capable of doing, or what he knows about his desires. Then, if he knows that his desires is going to overcome him and overtake him, or he thinks he can control it, then in this instance, we say that these affairs are what is permissible for him. Because it says in the narration, he was the most controlling. So a person who controls his desires, and he knows that semen is not going to come out while he's fondling with his wife, or he's kissing her, or he kissed her while he's in a state of fasting, then here, like we said before, then one can do that if he's able to control himself. And like we said, everyone is more knowledgeable about himself, or no one is more knowledgeable about himself than Allah, firstly, than himself. So that which we benefit from the hadith here, firstly, the permissibility of not saying, or for one to manifest the truth. Because Aisha radiallahu anha was not afraid to manifest what was done in her house with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in order to manifest the truth, so it can be directions in teaching the ummah. So the Prophet ﷺ, these affairs that conducted in his house, alayhi salatu wasalam, transpired, took place in the house, was for the ta'aleem, or the teaching of the ummah. And Aisha was not afraid to manifest the truth. And in what took place in our house, so it can teach us how to conduct ourselves in our house while we are in a state of fasting. Because that which is normal, or we shouldn't say normal, or that which is in the fitrah, and that which is the natural disposition of a woman, if she hasn't been corrupted by these outside influences, that which is the ideologies of the West or anything like that, which rips the shyness away from a woman and basically makes her, subjects her to be like a toy, to be taken advantage of. But the also of a woman, if she hasn't been affected by those outside influences of the world, she's naturally shy. She'll be a shy person, to be shy around men, shy to speak to men to the end of it. For al-mar'ah tastahi, of course, that which takes place in her house with her husband is even more to make her more kept in secret. But however, Aisha knew that the importance for the ummah to know this, where she displayed the haqq, the truth of what took place in her house with the Prophet ﷺ, so it could clarify the truth and the people can be upon clarity to know how to conduct themselves in their house. Number 2, from the benefits of the hadith, does al-madi, that which is what we call, for lack of better words, madi, or that was they call pre-discharge of a man. Pre-discharge, or I think they call it pre-cum or what have you. Pre-discharge before the actual sperm comes out. Does it break one's fast or not? That's what they call madi, not mani. Madi is the pre-discharge. That is the muqaddimat. Huh? Oh, you just answered the question. I was just trying to clarify what it was. No, you're right. No, I was just trying to clarify what they say as far as how do they translate pre-discharge? Pre-discharge or pre-cum? That which comes out from a man of pre-discharge or pre-cum, what does it nullify the fast or not? You'll find it's ikhtilaf kabir, a major ikhtilaf in this issue. For that which one is to protect his fast, then he should try to stay away from that which causes pre-discharge to come or come out. But you'll find that a lot of the ulama, they say no, that a madi does not break the fast. Madi, not many, not sperm. Sperm breaks it, except that if it's not caused by him. If it doesn't cause by him and sperm comes out, then of course, like we said, it doesn't break his fast. For example, he's in a wet dream, doesn't break his fast. Or he might have just thought a split second, sperm came out, khalas, then break his fast. But however, if he caused it and the sperm comes out and he's the reason for it coming out, like we said, nullifies the fast. Now we're talking about madi. Madi is the or the introduction before the actual sperm comes out, in which every man knows. Does that sperm or that pre-discharge, does it nullify the fast? What is more protective of one's fast is to stay away from those affairs that would cause the midi to come out. That's more preferable and protective of one of your fasts. And protective, as they say, min bab al-ihtiyat, to be sure and to be protective, and just in case, as they say. So you won't render yourself to falling inside a khilaf between Ahl Ilm, and that which a person or Muslim that he's diligent in doing is staying away from khilaf, or staying away from that which the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. وَبَيْنَهُمَا أُمُورٌ مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ لَا يَعْرِفُهُنَّ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ فَقَدْ اسْتَبْرَأَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ وَمَنِ وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام كالراعي يرعى حول الحمى يشك يقع فيه. To the end of the narration. What the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned is said that he says إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعرفهن كثير من الناس إلى آخر الحديث عنه صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said verily the halal is clear and the haram is clear, and between them is ambiguous matters that's not really totally clear, which a lot of people don't know about. And whoever is clear, keeps himself clear of those matters, then he has freed himself and kept his religion free. And he's kept himself free from falling into those matters that are not clear. And they stay away from those shubahat, that which is a doubtful matter, it has some doubt, in order to protect his religion. So in this instance, we say what is preferable, that one stay away from those matters that will lead him to fall inside of what will now come as a result of madi. Even though you'll find a lot of the ulama mention and say that madi, that pre-charge does not nullify the fast, but it's a danger of what can lead you to falling into your fast, breaking your fast. Because what is the pre-o is just pre-discharge, but it's not sperm, but it will necessitate that you fall to the next level and lead you to what? Nullifying this tremendous worship of fasting. So one puts forth his ardent desire in protecting and maintaining his fast. So those affairs of that which is a madi, he should stay away from that which is preferable, even though we will find, and from those people who say that madi does not nullify one's fast, is Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen. He even mentions that madi doesn't break, even though he doesn't break his fast. But however, he still should try to abstain from those matters that will cause the pre-discharge to come, because what will come is the next level is the semen, which will destroy your ibadah. You understand, everyone? And that's just to sum up everything. Number one, he says, and I'll just mention this quickly, he said, ثانية لا شك أن الإنزال شهوة. A person causing his semen to come out is desire. We know the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ made clear, as we just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that Allah Ta'ala says that a person leaves off his food and drink and his desires because of me. And also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where a Prophet ﷺ said that one will be rewarded for being intimate with his spouse, with his wife. And they saw a message of Allah, أَرَأَيْتُمْ لَوْ وَضَعَهَا فِي حَرَامٍ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ أَيَأْتِي أَحَدُنَا شَهْوَتَهُ يَكُونَ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرٌ قال نعم أرأيت لو وضع شهوته في حرام أليس يكون عليه وزر وكذلك لو وضع في حلال كان عليه وكان له أجر. As he said, do you not see that one of you, if, O Message of Allah, if one of us is to satisfy his desires by going to his family, will I have a reward for it? He said, yes. If you did it in that which is unlawful, meaning with your girlfriend, someone that's not your wife, he said, won't you have a sin for it? He said, likewise, if he did it in that which is lawful, then he will have a reward for it. وَالَّذِي يُوضَعْ, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَضَعَهَا. He said, that which is يُوضَعْ هُوَ الْمَنِي. That which the Prophet ﷺ said, we have a reward or that which he will have, that which is a wizard or a sin, is that which is sperm itself that emanates, not the actual what they call the pre-discharge. And this is the reason why he said in that one, that which is a pre-discharge does not what break the fast. But however, one should stay away from those matters that causes one for the actual imda or the medhi to come out, because like we said, it can lead to one now falling into something worse. And we'll stop here. I think that's enough for today. What we took today, inshallah, I think will suffice for clarification. So, inshallah, we gathered up that which is of al-madhi or al-mani, sperm, breaks one's fast. If he's the one that causes the reason, or he's the reason in causing the inzal of the sperm to come out. If he causes it, then it breaks your fast. And that's corresponding, or that's comprehensive for also one, masturbating, because it's not permissible to masturbate while one is what? In a state of fasting. Because he caused his desires, he aroused it, he stirred it up, we're to the point where it causes the sperm now to what? To now come out, that breaks his fast. And he has to make tawbah. Does he have to fast 2 months consecutively? No. But however, he makes tawbah. He makes tawbah, and he had committed a major sin by breaking his fast without a due excuse from the Shara'. He has to make tawbah, he has to make that fast after the month of Ramadan. But he does not have to fast 2 months consecutively. As I've heard this from a couple of people that said, if he wants to masturbate, does he fast 2 months consecutively? We say no. That's only exclusively for jima'. That's only exclusively for one being intimate. If he falls in being intimate, then he has to fast 2 months consecutively, as it comes in the narration. But other than that, then no. He did not have sex with his wife or intimate with his wife. Then, like we said, if he masturbates, then he has to make tawbah. And he has to make up that fast. And also, likewise, many that's done, like if one does not cause it, we just gave the details of it. And secondly, medhi, even though we said that the majority, a lot of the ulama said that medhi, pre-discharge, does not break one's fast, but it's preferable that one abstain for those matters that causes medhi to come out, because like we said, what can come as a result of it is the breaking of one's fast, and staying away from those matters which are not clear, and to staying away from khilaf between ahl ilm. So we'll stop here inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت واستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions? But jahl is just not being forbearing. Not being forbearing means not having that patience. Like someone comes to you, might do something, and you just quick to react. We know the Prophet ﷺ said, if one of you is to ridicule, mock you, insult you, then say what? Verily I'm fasting. So that's the meaning of jahl here. It means not to have hilm, not to have forbearance. Meaning that he's just quick to react, quick to be impulsive. Anything that comes by a person, that comes to you that wants to insult you, just quick to attack. The person overlooks, he doesn't do that. That's the third thing. That's in the hadith of Abu Hurairah. It's in the hadith. It's in Buloogh ul-Maraam here. The hadith is in here. It's in Buloogh ul-Maraam. No, that's correct. Anything else? I don't think there's any sisters here, so alhamdulillah. You heard the door? Is there any sisters over there? Oh, I didn't know. I thought it sounded like it wasn't anyone there. Any questions, sisters? What'd she say? I didn't hear. Alhamdulillah. There isn't any questions. Alhamdulillah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. I'll repeat it lastly. We'll say it again. Pre-discharge does not break the fast, as a lot of the ulama mentioned. Pre-discharge, not semen. Pre-discharge does not break the fast, but we said it's khilaf. If it's better, if you can, stay away from those matters that will cause medi to come out, because like we said, it can lead you into something worse. But Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned said medi doesn't break one's fast, medi. But still, one should try to stay away from anything that arouses desires, because you want to actualize the meaning of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where Allah Ta'ala says that he leaves off his food, his drink, and his desires because of me. So, in actualizing that meaning of that hadith, then one should abstain from anything of acts of desires that will arouse, where that pre-discharge will now emanate or come out, which will, like we said, is khilaf amongst Ahl al-Ilm, and one should try to abstain from that so he doesn't fall to something worse. For example, a person might think, even some people who have strong desires where he's out and about, he might think just for a couple of seconds and then medi comes out, pre-discharge comes out. So now does he say, oh, I got to make my fast up? We say no. No, you don't have to make your fast up. Understand everyone? And that happens to a lot of people. A lot of brothers have asked me that question. He said, it's just a split second. Like, I didn't even really prolong the thinking. It's just a split second and pre-discharge come out. What do? I said, inshallah, your fast is valid. It doesn't break your fast, the pre-discharge. Even we said that was the discharge itself, the semen. Even Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions that if it's a split second and it just came out. Some people's bodies are different. Their chemistry of their body is different. And sperm came out for that split second that he thought about something about his wife or anything of that matter. Does it now remove his fast? We have to talk about these matters because it happens to the people. And people have to know whether their worship is valid or not. So that's the reason why I'm talking about it. So we say that no. Your fast, inshallah, is still valid. Keeping your fast and continuing in your aspect of worship until you finish. Inshallah. We'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. Yeah.